can you break down the timeline for kind of how things unfolded for you? And I think it's really interesting, just about you moving as well, and kind of tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I moved in November, and then it was Christmas season, and we had huge. Cross Church does an incredible, massive Christmas production, and it was like the first week, I think, of December. So I had 1 month, and then it was just like boom, and it was on my campus, and I wasn't necessarily the one running point on it. Praise Jesus, because they had been working on it for like 6 months, so there was no way that I could run that thing. But I got to be a part of it, and it was awesome. And then my wife, I moved up here first without them, and so they finally moved here in December, I think, and we had just had our son in September. So it was between having a kid in September and then trying to move and the house stuff and all that stress. It's crazy. And so January felt like day one, honestly, even though I had been there, November, December, really January felt like day one. And January, February, we're going. And you start to hear in February about this thing called coronavirus, but it seems so far away. And like, I don't know, we do a thing on Thursdays called the Summit, where we bring in speakers from all over. And it's really to connect with business leaders and leaders in the community. So we'll bring in maybe a former or current CEO or different people from Chick-fil-A, or and really it's to connect on a spiritual level with business leaders in the community. Because I think sometimes it just helps to connect on just like that practical level, and but also hear from people who are spiritual influences in corporate America. And so we do that on Thursday. And so we're bringing in speakers, and I remember bringing in this guy from Atlanta, and of course Atlanta was hit way more than we were originally. I don't know what it is now. I haven't been keeping up, but I remember just kind of freaking out. This was late February, and we're still kind of rolling. Things are going. We plan. I lead worship March 8th, and then boom, churches are shutting down. In a sense of the normal gathering, like everyone coming.
Right.
And so March 15th, no one's in attendance. We're leading worship on a Sunday morning to an online audience, and or however you want to phrase that. And so it went from great big March 8th service to nobody's in there. All of our campuses came together, so that was pretty neat, as far as like worship leaders and different things like that. And so that was kind of immediate, like, all right, we're in this together, and which was really cool, I thought. And so March 8th was the last time, that I led worship where there were people in the room.
So it sounds like within like at least 1 to 2 weeks span, it just like flipped completely.
It just flipped. Yeah. And we stayed going into the office for several weeks, and we're still going in occasionally, because we started offering, well, I'll get into some of that here in a minute, but we just felt like the church shouldn't shut down in this season. I mean, if anything, it needs to be more prevalent.
That's my next question, is like, how did y'all adapt as a staff? And then also just with the congregation being remote and everything, talk a little bit through those scenarios.
Yeah. So, the quick, ask that again. Sorry. I was thinking about the first thing you said, and then I heard the second thing.
So how did the church adapt? So through, just as the staff, like, did y'all go remote or kind of keep staying in? And then with the congregation, how did the congregation kind of adapt with this?
So, the first thing was, how do we keep relational I guess the question we were asking was, if you don't have Sunday morning and Wednesday night and all the other activities that keep us together, how do you keep us together?
Yeah.
And kind of the key phrase that our pastor's been saying over the last year is, we're better together. And then all of a sudden we're not together, and physically, and so kind of what our staff immediately, the question became, how do we connect with the people who are in that age range that were of higher risk? I mean, that was like the immediate thing. All right, there is a higher risk, and we were still learning what coronavirus is. I mean, we still are at this point, however many weeks in, but it was, how can we meet the needs of those folks if they have to stay home, if they can't leave and go to the grocery store or whatever it is. And so we immediately started, we took a list of everybody that's a member at our church. And this is why sometimes this can help why membership's important, because then you know who you're trying to get a hold of. Yeah. And so
did you find anybody that was like already like had passed away in the last several years and they were still on the membership? There's a lot of churches that's still the case. And so I was like, where you're like, oh, actually, they're not here anymore.
Yeah, no, most of their systems in place have really helped with that. And so we use a database called, it's not through Chrome here. Let's see, hold on, it's in my other one. It's called Touchpoint. And that just has, when anybody comes in the door and they fill out any information, all of it goes into that. So
nice.
What we did is we took information out of that and took everyone who was 60 plus and above and spread out. I mean, that's a lot of people at our church.
Yeah.
It's between our Fayetteville campus, Neosho, Rogers, and Springdale. In attendance on a normal Sunday, there could be, I don't know, 10 or 12,000. And so, and the church is 150 years old. And so you're not going to have it's not just made up of 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds.
Right.
And so, the interesting thing is you've got a lot of 60-year-old people who are like, why are you calling me? And so the thing was not just a call and say, hey, do you need help getting food? What we wanted to communicate was, hey, one, we just want you to know we're praying for you. Are there specific things that we can pray for you right now? Did you lose your job? Did you are you with a family member and you can't get out of the house? Because there's certain people that were married to folks that are on the high risk and they couldn't leave either. And so what we were trying to figure out immediately is, how do we meet people's needs? And if we need to go to the grocery store for them, if we need to pick up medication, whatever it is. And so that was just like that immediate thing we did. And then we expanded it to, we need to call and check in and text and email literally every member in our church, because what we started to see is like, it's not just affecting the 60-year-old plus, it's affecting the whole. There's so many 20-year-olds that are losing their jobs, and 30-year-olds and 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds. And it's affecting every, there's no lack of, there's plenty of equality in coronavirus, right? It's affecting everyone, and no one's not being affected by
judge.
Yes. And so, there's some thoughts around that, how it hits different areas and lower income and all that stuff. But so it was, how do we meet practical needs? How can we pray for you? And is there anything we can do as a church for you? And so that was just immediate needs. We also have a thing called Feed the 479. And so one of the other things we started doing was asking people to come and donate food so that we could give out food to people that need it. And we actually just did another drive for that, I think last week, and we had like 13,000 pounds worth of food dropped off in one night. So it's about how much you probably eat in a couple of meals, but
you see these cheeks don't come just out of nowhere, man. What about the staff? I think one of the things that, what I've done, I'm connected to a lot of church staff people. And so I've seen people be really, really frustrated. I've seen people like church staff members not really know how to react. I saw some people overreacting and buying thousands of dollars of worth of equipment thinking that's what they needed to stream themselves. And I saw some people underreact and be like, yeah, this isn't going to be a big deal. And then they played catch up. And then there's just a lot of people struggling on how to continue meeting as a staff remotely. Talk about kind of the challenges and successes that you've seen.
Yeah. I will say, I think one of the positives for us was we already streamed our services. And so I can't take that for granted. We already had that set up in place to go on Facebook and our website. And, but at the same time, when that becomes the only thing that you can do, you do start to ask the question, is this the quality that we want it to be? And so each week we go back and watch, and we're critiquing not just like body language and all that thing, but we're kind of going, how can we make this better? Because this is literally the only experience they're getting.
Yeah.
And so I think we have invested a little bit. I mean, we're being diligent not to spend a lot of money right now. We want to be as good stewards with the money that people are still giving at this time. And so we're not trying to just go out and blow hundreds of thousands of dollars on new equipment.
Yeah.
So really what we're trying to do is make minor tweaks to what we already had, make it better. And then, and that was really good. I know for some folks that's hard because they weren't set up for online.
Well,
and so, but
there were a lot of people who thought that they had to spend that. But the real truth is, it still is today, you can just set up your phone and just start talking, just like we're doing it through the computer, but you could set up your phone and do that. And I've seen like there's just really, really small Southern Baptist church just right down the road. And it's where my wife's, I think her grandma goes to it, but he just set up the phone. He just started talking, and he's kind of more, he's still got the pulpit in front of him. Still got the pulpit, but he's down on the ground and he's just in like t-shirt and jeans and he's just talking. And I'm like, that is just so real to him and the people of his church. Like that is amazing to see. But I think it's honestly given more exposure to the gospel and things at this time because of all the social media that you're seeing from all these different churches now that are jumping in here. We're kind of over-indexed on biblical content that's going out, which is, I think it's honestly led to this mentality of even people that may not go to church are just gracious at this time. Like everybody has a lot of grace for everyone while we're all trying to figure this out. And one of my hopes is that like we just keep with that like after this, right? And I'll say too, just on mentality wise, we made a decision to at that point for a season to keep the Sunday morning experience live. And so we still go in on Sunday morning and do it live, where a lot of churches have, and I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do this. Exactly.
But some churches have pre-recorded midweek. We did that 1 week where we recorded like 4 weeks of material just in case the government said you can't even leave your house. And so we kind of prepped, and even after pre-recording, we still went in and did it live on Sundays because our leadership felt like there was something different for our experience, and we wanted to be able to address things were changing and evolving so quickly that we wanted the language to be fresh. To if 20,000 people had died that last week, we want to be able to speak to that and care for our people in that, And so we're still doing live on Sunday morning, and a lot of people have done really creative stuff. And it's honestly, for me, it's been fun to watch other churches because I don't do that very often. I mean, you watch when they release a song that's everybody, the blessing or something from Elevation or something like that. But I'm not normally watching a whole lot of other churches, and it's been fun to watch the creativity come out in this time. For us, we chose a more approach of we wanted it to feel as normal as possible, and so we didn't really change locations. The structure still looks very similar.
Yeah.
Because again, in a time of like nothing feeling normal, we wanted it to feel kind of as normal as possible.